Now, Adobe Illustrator gives you a very good way of combining your shapes, and that this actually enables you to always come up with other shapes that you didn't draw originally, because this actually cuts the time you would use to create sophisticated shapes, and it also actually enables you to manage your work better, because working with smaller bits of shapes or work is better than working with the entire piece. When it comes to drawing smaller pieces of your design and then joining them is better than drawing the entire piece at once, because once you run into one error, it might be actually very difficult for you to dig deep into your designs and make sure that you fix that design. But if at all your design is split into small bits that you can later on join, then the design is actually going to be more manageable and you'll be working more effectively. In order to join our two shapes, what we're going to do is we are going to select both of them, and then we are going to actually use this shape builder tool. Now, the shape builder tool, just like its name says, it builds shapes out of other shapes, just like you can see in this very small tutorial of Illustrator. It shows you that you can build other complex shapes out of these smaller shapes. For example, right here they are showing you that you can actually create clouds out of multiple circles. You can actually create a cloud out of multiple circles. But in our case, what we're going to do is we're going to select both of these shapes, and then come right here and select this shape builder tool. You can actually hit Shift plus M on your keyboard in order to come up with this shape builder tool, or you can actually go right here and select it. Now, what you're going to do in order to join these two shapes, once you have your shape builder tool selected, make sure that you draw a line in a direction where you'd want both of these two shapes to be joined. Now, for me, I would want to join these two triangles in this specific direction. I could also have used this straight line because I would want to join them like that. You can actually draw this line in very many different ways, because it's just a direction that the software has to use to make sure that it joins the two shapes that you are using. So once you do that, these two shapes will be joined and we shall have our final piece. Now, make sure that your final shape actually looks like this after joining the two shapes. The next point is adding and deleting anchor points in Illustrator. Now, as a graphic designer, you're going to always play around with anchor points. You'd have to add them, delete them, depending on your needs. So guys, we're going to make sure that we remove the curves of this first triangle, and we have it join the second triangle without the curves. So these are the curves we want to get rid of, so that this shape looks like this one right here, so that we can continue. So guys, in order to remove these curves, what you're going to do is zoom in a little bit. To zoom in Illustrator, you can use Z, and this will bring in this zoom tool, and you can click on a point on your artboard and drag. So click, hold, and drag on a point on your artboard, and you'll be able to zoom in. Now, guys, zoom in right here to this first point where this first triangle was joined with this second triangle. Now, what we are going to do is we just need to make sure that this line actually joins with this line right here and remove this curve. Now, we can actually either remove these anchor points or maybe add specific anchor points somewhere in order to modify this shape. Now, I'm going to add an anchor point right here, and to add an anchor point, select your pen tool again, and then hover at a point where you'd want to add your anchor point, and the pen tool will intelligently actually change its icon a little bit, and it will add a plus icon at the bottom, meaning that you would want to add an anchor point on this line. So make sure the point you're going to add is in line with this first line of this first triangle. So what you can do is make sure that it's in line. So for me, I'll put mine right here. After putting this anchor point, as you can see, we're going to remove this right here and this right here, so that this line can shift to make a corner instead of being curved like this. So In order to remove an anchor point, hover over the anchor point, and the pen tool will automatically also change its icon, and you add a minus icon at the bottom that you can use to delete a specific anchor point. Now I will actually click on this anchor point and it will disappear. In order to undo a specific action in Adobe Illustrator, hit Ctrl Z or Command Z on a Mac and you will see the previous action. I want to actually redo this so that you can see it. Now hit on this anchor point right here and it will be deleted. And then I'll also delete this right here so that you can have that corner. Now do the same thing on this end. Find a point right here, add an anchor point, then delete this and also delete that so that we can have our final shape looking like this. Now guys, you'll find yourself deleting anchor points here and there and adding anchor points depending on what you're doing or depending on the shapes that you're creating in Adobe Illustrator. So guys, moving ahead, the next point is we need smooth points in Illustrator. Now, unless you're creating maybe lines that are really straight, but the lines you come up with in Illustrator will either be curvy or maybe zigzag or maybe wavy, depending on what you're trying to do. But the point is you can also create curvy lines in Adobe Illustrator out of straight lines. Now, in Adobe Illustrator, there is a tool called the anchor point tool. Now, the anchor point tool enables you to edit anchor points in Adobe Illustrator. You can use the anchor point tool to turn straight lines into curves and corners into curves and vice versa. So this tool is really crucial and there are so many designers actually don't know about it. They always struggle with making straight lines, curved lines, or maybe corners, curves. So the anchor point tool is actually going to help you do that. We would want to make sure that all of these edges of our final shape are actually curvy and that we can relate them to this final shape of ours, because you can see that all of these petals actually have curved edges. So we would also want the same thing in our case. So in order to achieve that, make sure that you have your anchor point tool selected, or maybe you can hit Shift+C on your keyboard in order to get that tool. So guys, now find the middle of each specific edge of this shape right here and make sure that you drag that edge outward. I'll start with this edge right here. I'll find the middle and then I'll drag it a little bit outward like this. Then for this next point, I'll also do the same thing. And then for this other one, I'll also do the same thing. And then I'll also do the same thing for this other point. So guys, I think you can see we are actually left with these other two curves, and then you can actually do the same thing right here. Make sure that you find the center and drag them outwards. Now you can also drag these lines inwards like this, or maybe outwards like this, or maybe inwards again like this to come up with any shape you want. Adobe Illustrator does not care. You can actually create any type of object or maybe shape. It doesn't matter. In our case, this is not what we want, and I just wanted to show you that you can also actually do that. So hit Ctrl Z or Command Z until you get back to where you left off from before you started your final shape.